Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. All right. Good morning, K-Man. Happy Tuesday. How are you guys doing? We're going to basically have open mic most of today. I think Mr. Lindsay should be joining us a little bit later on in the program. So I hope you guys are doing fantastic. What a show yesterday. Hot mess. hot tamales. One of my Honduran friends would say, que planchera. Yes. They say that's the equivalent of basically saying, what a hot mess. Que planchera. Some days, hey, Sean, how you doing, honey? Chill. Some days are just like that. It is what it is. And what can you do? It's the political season. So you can expect any and everything to be going on. And as you guys know, here in the Cold Hard Truth, we ain't shying away from it. I know some people are like, oh, Sandy, you told them. I said, well, if they had any sense, I think anybody would have seen that coming a mile away. We don't hold back, you know? And so candidates, get yourselves together. It might be a little bit too late for that now, but please do yourselves a favor and get it together. That would be my sincere and honest opinion. Now, you don't have to take my opinion. You can, as they say, leave it or lump it. It don't really make no difference. Lots of you were reaching out to me yesterday about that caller, Miss Nadine, AKA, what's her real name? Belarus or something. And boy, I tell you what, you know, I always tell people, tell me if you agree with me. All right. 9362626. Phone lines are open. I always tell people, honey child, sometimes it is in your best interest to say nothing. Yes? Because I find it so fascinating. The people that want to come on this program, knowing that literally there are thousands of people watching it and listening to it on the radio, on social media. And y'all want to come and say something and think that you can come with your alternative facts, your alternative stories, whatever, and that people are just going to listen and say nothing and do nothing. I do find it bizarre. Because I can tell you one thing I know without fear of contradiction. Oh, let me fix that TV behind me. Give me one quick second. 1 second. We got to play a little music here so that things don't shut off. Hold on, honey. Chill. Let's play some George Jones. Love him.
You don't know who I am, but I know all about you. I've come to talk to you tonight about the things I've seen.
All right, let me just fix that. Give me one quick second. Yeah, I was saying that one thing I know without fear of contradiction, really, is that the more you have, let me see here, the more you have something to say, the more people are going to listen to you and they're going to scrutinize what it is that you're saying. And they're going to respond. Okay? They are simply not going to sit down and do nothing and say nothing. Yeah. Yep. That's how it works. And so when you're presenting your opinion, and certainly you're entitled to it, no one ever told her she couldn't share her opinion, although gosh knows she was getting a little bit obsessed with the whole opinion situation, right? You share your opinion. All right, we got it. We know where your loyalties stand. That's no problem. And when you just keep going on and on and on and on, it's like, whoa, mama, what you doing, lady? As Shakespeare said, thou dost protest too much. And it was just a bit much. 3 phone calls from 3 different numbers. It's like she thought, oh, if I call from a different number, Sandy's not going to know it's me. And she's going to be forced to answer the phone, which I did answer the phone. But she, again, somehow thought that that meant that I would be forced to actually listen to her. There's two distinctly different things. Yes, I can answer the phone, but that doesn't mean that I have to continue to listen to you. So, unfortunately for her, she got a little disconnection, which was warranted. Now, yesterday, this is the chill me for 25. Y'all see how chill I can be? I need to just, I don't know which light is casting I think it's actually the I think it's the monitors actually. I don't know. Nope, it's not that one. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that honestly, this is the 2025 chill version that y'all are getting so far. You've not really had too many non-chill versions, you know. I know y'all thinking, boy, Sandy got a lot of patience. Your comments yesterday, you're like, wow, girl, you come in with a lot of patience. And I said, honey chill. But you know, even Job, his patience might have ran out at some point in time, right? So feel free to call in, share your opinions, but don't try to beat it into us. Listen, somebody doesn't accept your opinion, they don't accept your opinion. What you gonna do? Nothing you can do about that. You just keep it moving. Talking about it over and over and over incessantly doesn't make us or make your opinion more believable, or it doesn't bring your point home any more than when you said it the first time. Believe me, we heard you loud and clear. And it still didn't bring your point home any more than the first time you said it. You know, it's unfortunate that people just don't quite understand and they just don't get it. But they'll eventually get it, honey child, one way or the other. That's one thing I know. So listen, yesterday, big shout out to hubby. He was listening to the youth parliament. Mess with him. I was like, what you know about youth parliament? You all sit there. Marlon paying attention. He just not talking. So he sent me the link and he's like, oh, you know, check out these young people. And sometimes he sends me stuff and I don't even get to read his messages. He's like, did you watch what I sent you? I'm like, no, I did not, in all honesty. So last night he put it on and I got to listen. And I want to congratulate these young people because what a phenomenal job they did. First of all, the half that I listened to, they did about a sex offenders registry. And they clearly did research. They looked things up. They discussed things well put together. You know, you could tell some of them were nervous, and who isn't, you know? You have to get up and do a little presentation. But man, they really brought some salient points to the fore, and they argued with passion. I loved it. I was saying to myself, they sound better than some of the people we have elected to public office. Now, you know, maybe they're not going to be budding politicians, but let me tell you something, honey child. No matter what you do in life, I'm trying to find my little lip gloss here, your ability to convey an idea and to share that with other people and to be convincing, to communicate, these are extremely important traits. No matter what you do, at some point you gotta get up, honey child, and do a little presentation and everything. So, you know, job interviews, all these things. So the better you are at communicating your ideas in a convincing way, I can tell you that you that's a win-win, right? Mm-mm. So congrats to them. They did a phenomenal job. I was very, very proud of them. So over the next couple days on social media, I'll be sharing some of their clips. Shared one last night. So big shout out to them. Very, very well done. Good morning, Miss Darlene. Good morning, Miss Olivia. By the way, we got a surprise guest coming in the studio. All civil servants, go tell your friends now, if you're listening and you're a civil servant, make sure that you're paying attention, because you're going to want to hear what this guest has to say, because this is something that will directly impact you. Mm-hmm. All right. Very good. So that's all I'm going to say for now. They're coming in around, oops, 8:15-ish. All right. So pay attention. Okay. We like to bring you relevant and pertinent information. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about politics. Gosh, I feel like I can't get away from it at the moment anyway. Seriously, I'm running. Remember that song? Now, you young people on Instagram, you're going to be too young to remember this one for sure. But there was a song by, I think it was Debbie. She only went by Debbie. I don't think she had a last name. So one of those artists. And in fact, I don't know, she might have been a one-hit wonder back in the 90s, I guess. And I don't really know the name of the song, but it had this line in it saying, running just as fast as you can. Do y'all remember that song? What song would that have been? Oh, man. I'll have to look it up. So that's what I feel right now. It's like, we're all running just as fast as we can. Some of us running away from it. But it's here until April the 30th, at least. And then we'll see what happens from there. Running just what was Debbie? Hold on. Now this is going to bother me if I can't even remember. Debbie Gibson. Thank you, Marshall. What was the name of that song? Like I said, she might have just had the one hit. I mean, I don't know what else she did. Debbie Gibson songs. Let me see. She did Lost in Your Eyes. Oh, really? Only in My Dreams, Shake Your Love. I don't think that was it. What was the one song that had that lyric in it? Oh, she did quite a few songs in the late 80s and up to mid 90s. Anybody can remember? Let me see. That song was, that wasn't even her. Look at me, getting my artists all confused. That was Tiffany with I Think We're Alone Now. Remember that song? And then she did that. There's that one lyric in it about running just as fast. Yes, Tiffany. I knew it was a one-hit kind of person. Or first name artist. My goodness. Tiffany. Tiffany never had a last name that we knew anything about. But yes, I Think We're Alone Now. 1987. Whoa. That was not even in the 90s. Oh my gosh. What a mess. I used to love that song. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa knew who I was talking about. She's like, girl, you're confusing your 80s artists. It wasn't Debbie, it was Tiffany. Akil says she was one of my favorite artists. Really? Tiffany or Debbie? Man, we had some good songs back then. The good old days. You're getting old when you start to talk about the good old days, right? Yeah, Shaka, I Think We're Alone Now. And you know what other song I was really into? I have a very eclectic, I think I've mentioned this before, palette when it comes to music. I like all kinds of music. Country, like some hardcore things. So I'm not into like hardcore rock. But I love like a good what was the one again? They would have been like 80s, 90s, white something, White Snake or something. And they did this song about oh Lord, what was it? Rain pouring down on you or something. Was that White Snake or somebody? I'm horrible with remembering these names. Rain something pouring down. Was it them? Maybe it was even them, but it was a rock band and something but the rain pouring down. I can't even remember. Yes, I think we're alone now. It wasn't Debbie, it was Tiffany. Look at that. We're all confusing our artists. But boy, back in those days, we had some good music. Lots of we went through that whole phase where they did the fake what do you call it? All the computer generated, like we're starting to get into computers. So they do a lot of computer generated like backdrop to the songs, but they were all right. So I listened to everything. Def Leppard. What was the name of the song, Megan? Yes, I think it was Def Leppard. So I had a whole collection of everything. Like I would listen to R&B, hip hop. I don't like hardcore hip hop. So people like DMX, is that his name? DMZ, what's his name? DMZ. I think it was DMX. So some of his songs I would listen to. Is he still alive? No, he died in 2021. Oops. Drugs, right? I don't think so. But anyway, he's probably a little bit hardcore for me. But some of his songs I liked, probably more the mainstream stuff, but he would drop some bombs on you. Back then Auntie wasn't allowed to listen to all those songs because the real Auntie Lottie would have wrung my neck. Where are you getting these songs from? But there's a couple of his songs that I probably liked. Nelly, oh my gosh, huge Nelly fan back in the day. Busta Rhymes, Ja Rule, Tupac. Again, it depends on the song. So if he was really going hardcore, there was some of his stuff that I really didn't like. But California Love and other little things like that, they were cool. So yeah, some interesting music. And then I love jazz. I love bluegrass. One of my all-time favorite groups is actually a bluegrass group. Now, if I could remember their name, Dixie Chicks. I love Dixie Chicks. Whatever happened to them? Oh man, they had some good. Listen, Dixie Chicks did this this album. Might have been their only album that was. No, I think they did more than one album, but they did this one album that had the Goodbye Earl song on it. Ooh, honey child, I love the Goodbye Earl song. So that album was called Fly. So they did like Cowboy Take Me Away, Sin Wagon. Are you guys, anybody remembering these songs? Let me tell you something. If you have not heard that album, y'all need to go listen to it. And of course, Goodbye Earl. I would have been 1999. I was where? University? Yeah. So, girls like getting beaten up by boyfriends and stuff. I'm like, here, honey, chill. Check out. You remember we had like iPods? I'd be like, here, you need to listen to this Goodbye Earl song. Don't make no man put his hands on you because he gonna disappear, honey, chill. So, but Sin Wagon, oh my gosh, they had some great songs. What is this noise in my head again? What is this dinging noise? Hello, technology, leave me alone. Alicia Keys. I know she came out a little bit later on, but she's got some really good music. So Pour Some Sugar on Me. Thank you, Megan. I love that song. I don't know why, but that song, for some reason, from my childhood, just elicits really fun memories. And I wouldn't say I'm a huge Def Leppard fan, but I thought that song was rocking it, Yeah. All the synthesizer style music, you grew up with it. So you're like, okay, it can work. Prince, legendary. Good morning, Paul. Tartarian. What is this? The Roland keyboard D50 synth riffs. What is that? Some kind of keyboard? Yeah, man, they used to have some lyrics back then. Ms. Darlene says our youth parliamentarians act with more sense and bring more substance to the table than a lot of our past and present MPs. If our past and present MPs had implemented and enforced what our youth parliamentarians brought and continue to bring to the table, we would have a much better Cayman Islands, hallelujah, and a more happy, healthy, and wealthy community. So yeah, and they do their research. That's the thing. They don't just get up and talk foolishness and use it for political pat myself on the back hour or using it to threaten people or whatever. You know, they're using it to, big shout out to Jaron and all of them. Jaron Reynolds, he was the speaker, and boy, he took that role very seriously. So we're going to try to do an interview with them. I'm working on the logistics of how and where and when and all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll talk to them, but fantastic. Very, very good. And of course, you know, the young people, they're into what's happening. And so they had to drop Marl Road's name a couple times. And every time they did it, it made me laugh. Kevin came over last night and we were watching it together. And so I got to be honest with you, I had a good chuckle every time they said it. Here's one that I posted in case our radio listeners might not have had an opportunity to hear it. And they were working in some jokes and some little jabs and stuff. I was like, yes, sir. Mess with them. Here's this young man, segment of what he had to say.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to see evidence of this rehabilitation program.
A proposed rehabilitation program, Mr. Speaker?
There already is a rehabilitation program.
The one we're proposing, Mr. Speaker.
Members, we are not getting anywhere. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
That's right, Speaker. You keep them in place. Doing a better job than Al then.
Instead, they're fixated on adding names to a list that serves no real purpose, except maybe to give them something to point out into the press. Mr. Speaker, Cayman Mall Road will be more effective than this list. We must reject this motion. If the government truly wants to make a difference, they need to stop making symbolic gestures and start making sense. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir. Stop making symbolic gestures and start making sense. Now, you see what he did there? Symbolic gestures and sense. I think that is that called alliteration. Ooh, y'all gonna make me pull out that English degree after all. I think that's what that's called. But where you match it with the you know, symbolic gestures and sense, S&S, I think that's alliteration. Where's Silka? Silka, correct me if I'm wrong. But I thought it was right on point. And there was another young lady who spoke, honey child, she came in rhyming at the beginning. I was like, what? Mess with her? I loved it. Delcy, good morning. Joining us from Miramar, Florida. Big shout out to Lavana. If you guys missed the big announcement, Lavana, I'm trying her hands at a new business. Congratulations, young lady. You know, try again. And she's doing a community laundromat now in Windsor Park. I'm assuming it's the same location there where she had her little restaurant. So if you're in Windsor Park and you need access to a laundry facility, now you've got one right in the neighborhood. So go check it out. Damara's joining us from New York. Morning, Olivia. Dee Dee. Supermax, blessed good morning to you. Siobhan, I've not seen you in a hot minute, girl. Where have you been? People be confusing this Siobhan with the other Siobhan. This is Siobhan Berry. Big up yourself from Georgetown. Curtis Connolly in the house. He says, morning from a big, you should have put big in caps there, Curtis. He said, good morning from a big PPM supporter. Morning, Curtis. We love you nonetheless. Doesn't matter who you support politically. This Curtis is a good guy. There's a couple Curtises, so we got to make sure we talk about the right ones around here. He's a good guy. He's all right. Good morning, Love Lopez. Is it alliteration? That's what it is. Remember when you learned all these things about the onomatopoeias and this and that, and now at a certain age, you can't remember none of that anymore. You got to go Google it. But yeah, they did a fantastic job. Darlene says, good morning, Curtis. Don't say that too loud. Say it as loud as you want to. Shaka says that Tartarian knows his keyboard. His or her. We don't know if Tartarian's a male or female. Tartarian knows keyboards, though. I always wanted to learn to play the keyboard. One of these days, it's on my list. I have one in my house. And so it's on my bucket list. I keep telling Gigi, we're going to both sign up for lessons. You know, I think I should learn along with her. So when she gets frustrated at the keyboard, I can get frustrated too and be like, let's take a tea break, have a cookie or something, and then get back to it. If she sees me doing it, then she's more inclined to be like, I can do it too, right? Vernita says the young parliament is so refreshing to listen to. They should run the country. Morning, Jennifer. Joining us from Kim and Brack this morning. Brackers tuned in. Thank you so much. Good morning, Miss Marjorie, joining us from Georgetown South. So where is Miss Amelia this morning? So all right. So lots going on, honey chow. I think this, All right, so lots going on. I'm still trying to figure out a few tech-related things. I think I need to tell this guy, send the Dropbox link, please. Thanks. Do you know, I dabble in a lot of different things, obviously. As a business owner, I have no choice. And so I learn things about things that I'm no subject matter expert in, but I do learn them because it's kind of part of what I have to do. And so do you know that when you send images, this is totally just a random FYI moment, when you send images on WhatsApp, that WhatsApp actually compresses the image. So I have my designer that I talk to on WhatsApp, and then I have my web guy that I talk to on WhatsApp. So this morning, the designer sent me some items, and the web guy is like, hey, can you send them as a zip file to keep the quality, like design quality. And then they both, English isn't their first language, so I know sometimes things are a little bit lost in translation. So I forwarded that message to the web guy, the design guy, and he sent me the zip file in WhatsApp. And I'm thinking, wouldn't that be the same thing if you're sending it in WhatsApp? Because WhatsApp has restrictions like on file sizes and stuff, right? So I'm thinking, I don't think that that's going to help much just because you sent the zip file in WhatsApp. So I said to him, just thinking off the top of my head, maybe you just send me the Dropbox link to the original file. Anyway, I digress. But I'm digressing because these are the multiple things that I'm always doing at the same time. I'm so sorry. Yes, honey child, I'm doing like 5 things at once. And so sometimes my brain is like I just had a moment where my brain had to pause and go, why did he send me the zip file in WhatsApp? I don't think that from a quality perspective that still meets the. So my apologies for going off a sidetrack here, but my brain had to process that for a second. You ever have that moment where your brain is like, and for me to work it through, I need to talk about it. You see, I'm a communicator through and through. Listen, if you want a relationship with me, we got to be able to talk. If we can't talk, me and you can't be friends. We can't be in relationships because sometimes I just don't understand what's going on. And I'm like, And so when I talk about it, it helps me. It goes through the little cobwebs and the circles in the head. And I'm like, okay. Let's talk about it. Let's communicate. Because that was confusing. Now that I've vocalized it, I can move past it. Good morning, Jennifer, honey child. Says, tell Gigi Auntie Jen says hi. I will. So she's off to school. She ended up, I don't know how she did it, but she was in the pool on Sunday, so maybe that was it. But she ended up doing something to her big toe. Oh, I think she's accident prone, but maybe it's all kids because she's the only one I got. So I don't know. Parents, do all kids, are they always running into stuff? And, I try to kind of just go with the flow as a parent because I remember when she was a baby, she was a toddler because she had not too long started running. So, The stage of them going from running to walking seems like overnight, quite frankly. They do it very, very quickly. So she was walking, definitely, and obviously trying to run, not very well. I told her she got her father's 2 left feet, She got Marlon 2 left feet, child. He's not really athletic. I can run circles around him. Although I must tell you, sometimes he gets on the pickleball court every blue moon, and he does give me a run for my money. So she was on the sofa, and I'll never forget this. She started like running, and then she couldn't stop at the edge of the sofa. So she fell off the sofa. I was like, oh my God. And of course, probably hit her head, and, they start crying. And as a parent, you got to just stay calm, because they look at you, even when they're hurt, they look at your response, and how you react can escalate the situation way beyond what it needs to be. So of course you try to be consoling and, just stay calm. Because when you see a little finger get smashed in the door and then they start screaming, oh my God, do you not want to scream as a parent too? Like, you want to cry, you want to scream, and you just got to bring them in and hug them. It's okay. It's okay. Oh my gosh. Jamaicans would say, hush, hush, baby, hush. It's like, but they can do some stuff to themselves. Lord have mercy. Once she fell off the bed, I kept telling him, like, don't be jumping and playing in the bed. And sure enough, she lost her footing, went bloop, right off. I was like, oh my God, you're going to get a concussion. Oh, kids, how do y'all deal with it when you have 5 of them doing that? Woo! I'm surprised y'all don't go crazy. Yes, that's the doorbell. Give me a second. I'm going to fix it. It's the alerts telling me that somebody's walking by or doing something at one of the multiple locations that those things are at. Could be even the wind blowing, whatever. Give me 1 second though, because coming from this smart, see that little thing right there? That right there on the wall? That's where it's coming from, Somebody turned up the volume on that. So hold on. I'm going to go turn the volume down, because that's going to drive me crazy. And it's going to drive you crazy too. I'm pretty sure of that. All right. Hold on 1 second. I got to play a commercial or something. Hold on.
Great news, K-Man! Tim Hortons is finally open and ready to serve you. Start your day right with our delicious all-day breakfast, or grab a box of our famous Timbits and a dozen donuts for a sweet treat. Need a quick pick-me-up? Swing by our drive-thru for your favorite espresso drink anytime. We're open weekdays from 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. on the weekends, closing 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, with 2 entrances at the Shamrock Road Roundabout in Red Bay. It's time for Tim's.
All right. Now we should not be hearing that bell sound every couple seconds. Tartarian says Shaka. Zulu. Oh yes, Bobo. We used to run Funky Tangs hot back in the day. Caymanian lyric writer right here. Oh my gosh. Music is for the soul, man. There's nothing like a good song. Sometimes you just want to relax. Whenever I want to study, I put on my classics. I put on my Beethovens, and, it gets me in a particular mood. Like if I need to write an academic paper, the thing that really puts me in the mood, I got to either listen to easy listening jazz, nothing high tempo, or some good classical music. And man, I can zone in, I can focus, and I can write an A paper without all this AI stuff y'all got going on. Yes. Inspiring gave us one of the classic alliterations. Peter Piper picked a pickle. What? Okay. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Lord have mercy. That's a good one. All right. Next time, give her some sweet sugar and water. What is that supposed to do? Sweet sugar and water? For what? Oh, child, you want to make her blood pressure go up. Ramelia, we're waiting for you to come and talk to the people, honey child. They want to hear from you. Oh, Lord have mercy. Y'all sending me stuff saying nowhere on this does it have the candidate's name. Oh, y'all need help with marketing. You need help with, is that in the mail? Are y'all still sending stuff by mail? She sells seashells by the she. Oh my God. Let me see. She sells seashells by the seashore. It's hard. Y'all got me there. Tongue twisted for sure. All right. What a hot mess. Gabby says, no, you have hell with sugar water. What's sugar water supposed to do? I've never heard that one before, except give her a sugar spike. Murder. Everyone having a good laugh. All right, so good people. 'Tis the season. And somebody said, boy, you went hard on this one yesterday and that one. I said, not really. I wasn't that hard, although they may get in their feelings now, but let's just not get in your feelings, honey Jill. You'll be fine. I will definitely be fine. K-Man hopefully will be fine. My goodness. We're going to get there. Ralston Anglin has a meeting this weekend. He's got his big launch. And I was talking to someone yesterday who said to me, Miss Sandy, are you going to be there? And I said, of course I'm going to be there. He's a paying customer. So these are the services that they get. And one of the interesting things, let me talk about this, because I thought I was being crystal clear about how the election cycle would work and when people are on the show. But it occurs to me that some of y'all still don't get it. Now, when I say some of you all, I don't mean you. I mean the politicians. They're still a little bit lost about the situation. And so they're like, oh, but you giving these people getting all kind of attention from you. That mean you're favoring them. Here's the thing. Of course, they're talking about TCCP. You know why TCCP is all over CMR and why their meetings are being posted? Because they're paying for it. It's a business. And everybody knew that it was pay to play time. So is it my fault that the one group and the only group that was organized and wanted to use CMR as well as their other options to get their messaging out there was TCCP? Is it my fault we have, how many people we have on Facebook now? 160,000 people? Obviously not all of them are in Cayman. So when we post something, it tends to reach quite a few people, honey child. Some individual candidates are working with us as well. So that's how it works. So the reason why you see them all over the place is because, yes, thank you, Dawn, they are paying to play. So don't get in your feelings. Because just because you see them, they're not getting nothing for free. Nobody can get anything for free right now. So someone was saying something about another candidate. I'm not going to call his name. And they're saying, oh, he's going over on word of mouth. He would be better off going to Radio Cayman or coming to you. And I said, well, to be fair to him, he did approach me, but what he was requesting isn't available. So, it's not a situation where I can accommodate someone coming on the show one time. We did that last election, and I learned some lessons from last time in terms of what doesn't work and what just doesn't work for anybody. And so, yeah, it is what it is. Dawn, I mean, you said it so long ago, and people still are like questioning me. And I said, honey child, you want to come on? Here are the packages. It's too late now. I'm not taking anybody new, so don't bother me no more, because y'all just giving me a headache for no good reason. I can't take the last minute thing. So at this stage, if they approach me, the answer is going to be a firm no. And I had other groups approaching me, and it was like one back and forth, and I can't take the headache. PPM does not want to advertise. Let me be very clear. That's why when Kenneth said he was going to be bringing them on, I kind of chuckled, and I was like, really? You're a miracle worker, honey child. We'll wait here for it, but I know that that's not going to happen. And I was given a reason why. And I said to them, I didn't ask you to advertise, first of all, so you don't have to give me a reason why. But they said, apparently Barbara isn't running because of me. I was too harsh on her. She'll be fine. And as a result of that, because the party's loyal to Barbara, they won't advertise on CMR because it would hurt Barbara's feelings. I'm like, okay, that's interesting logic. You see, if that was me, this is why I don't get involved with certain things anymore, because I'm less concerned about hurting people's feelings than getting results. And that doesn't work for everybody. You guys like, oh, don't hurt my feelings. What's that? How does that song go? Lie to me. Don't tell me the cold hard truth. Some of y'all prefer people to lie to you with sweet nothings, whispering sweet nothings in your ear, which is fine. I mean, if that's your MO, but that's not me. And so I would have thought getting results is more important than saving somebody's feelings. But everybody's got choices to make. And so you make your choices. Salvin says, not sure I love you in dark colors. Somehow carnival colors amplify what you do just for consideration. Carnival colors. What do you consider a carnival color? I don't even know what that means. Well, Salvin, thanks for the comment, I guess. I don't even know. The good news is your name is not Kanye West, and I'm not your woman. So you don't have to, you certainly don't have to wardrobe me in any way, shape, or form. So you don't have to like the colors. Ask me if I care. Go ahead. Ask me if I care. Y'all know the answer already. Okay. Let's get to our guests. I'm going to just send out a little message here. Civil servants, this is a message for you. But this thing is still ringing in my ear. Where is that coming from? I thought I knew. And now it seems like I don't know. Is that Alexa? Alexa, volume down. Alexa, volume all the way down. Yeah. I don't know if it's her. I don't know where it's coming from. I thought I knew, but I still hear it ringing in my head, in my ears. Let's welcome our guests. Should we make it a trivia question? Who is our special guest today? All right. I gotta go and drop off some gift cards. Let's do it. Let's do a quick one. Who is our special guest in the studio today? 936. You got to call in. 936-2626. Win yourself. CMR always got stuff to give away. We'll give you an organizer and a $100 gift certificate. Shaka saying Uncle Alric. You got to call it in. 936-2626. Yeah, Media Warehouse. I know what it is, but I don't know where it's coming from because we got so many devices all over the place. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning. Is it Alric?
No, it's not. He's coming on later. But this one is a special guest. We don't.
Romelia?
No, not Miss Romelia. I hope she's coming on soon. But good morning, caller.
Morning. Is it Miss Romelia?
No, gosh, you guys are thinking about her this morning. Not Miss Romelia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning, caller. Who's our special guest this morning? Uh-oh, that one dropped. 936-2626. Miss Romelia, everybody thinking about you today. Let's see. Good morning, caller.
Is it Miss somebody from civil servant, right?
Yes.
Is this Miss the deputy governor?
What's his name?
Mr. Frankman.
Yes, my goodness. You're about to call.
This is your special girl. She is a bright girl, and she's the number.
Wait a minute. That's you. That's you again?
That's me. Yes, child.
Listen,
I'm
you
in
have
the class.
You
There's
have
no stopping. There's no stopping.
Don't
Bright, you're
don't
bright.
don't I have another gift here for you?
Yes.
You
my
win.
cup. Yes.
You win
Yes.
more.
I want that gift certificate. Like,
Yes. You win more prizes on CMR than anybody else.
yes,
Congratulations.
because I'm a bright girl. Come on now. No.
Miss Debbie
Thank
said,
you, Miss
thank you.
Sandra.
All right, honey.
Thank you.
Miss Debbie said, is it Nadine? No. Nadine was harassing us yesterday. Yes, none other than the Deputy Governor, Mr. France Manderson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to
People
you and to
call him, yes.
all of our listening audience, especially my civil servants. You told me they have been sending you lots of questions around political activities and what they can and
Yes,
cannot do.
absolutely.
So
So we want to
I'm
clarify.
I'm here to do what I can to clear up any misconceptions or to answer any questions that people may have around that. So very important that we keep not only the public informed, but we keep our civil servants and public servants informed. We do that regularly in the civil service. We have town halls, we have other forums, but your show also provides a very important medium for us to be able to communicate. So thank you for having me on, and I'm all yours.
Yes, wonderful. So glad to have you here. We appreciate any time that we can get you because we know that obviously you are extremely busy. So we know that I think it was last week, maybe a circular was sent out to the civil servants, kind of reminding them of certain protocols in relation to political activities. It was a infographic that was sent out on February the 28th, it looks like. And so there's a lot of questions around it. I had people asking me questions and they're not quite sure. And I'm going to just bring up the infographic here on the screen. They're not quite sure what they can and can't do and what the limitations are. So I thought, well, I'm no expert on this. The best person who would know exactly how this works would be Mr. France Manderson. So we should just have him on and, he can answer the questions that the civil servants may have. So I know every election year, I'm pretty sure that you guys send out this circular. It's kind of a normal thing. And tell us really, what are your general expectations? Then we'll take a few specific questions from people. But what are your general expectations about what civil servants can and cannot do?
Right. So, Sandra, again, thank you for having me on, and thank you for that question. So, number one is that the whole purpose of the infographic and the circular that goes out every year is to ensure that a new government coming into the civil service has confidence that the civil service is politically neutral, that we are not tied to any particular government. The people of the Cayman Islands make a decision as to who they would like to be in office to lead their country. And then it's for the civil servants to ensure that that government is welcomed in and is supported to the very best of our ability, and that we work hard every day to deliver on their policy priorities and projects. So we want our ministers coming in feeling confident that the civil service, despite having served a government for the last 4 years, is now able to make that transition and can now serve you as we did the previous government. So it's around that basis that we issue a circular every year to our civil servants. So in reality, while civil servants have a right to vote, we really shouldn't be focused on who wins, because the winner is the government of the day, and we must serve them to the best of our ability. But civil servants are voters. Many of them are voters, and they have a right to be politically informed. So they have a right to understand what are the policies and the priorities and the thoughts of candidates, and they have a right to attend meetings. They have a right to ask questions. They have a right to meet individually with their prospective MP. They have a right to, like I said, to be politically informed, so that when they go into the polling booth, that they know exactly who they want to vote for. Once they have cast that vote, then their job then is to serve the government of the day. We also tell them things that they should not do, and things like taking over meetings of a candidate where they're out there giving a candidate an impression, for example, that they may not be supportive of them, because they could end up working with that candidate as a minister in just a few short days or weeks. So we want civil servants to always behave in a way that will, in the candidates, will be able to say, I know if I'm elected, the civil service will be able to work hard for me.
And I think it's a real concern, Mr. Manderson, because obviously we hear it all the time. People say, well, we know that the civil service by and large is pro so-and-so, different political groups and that sort of thing. So I think it is important for the civil servants to understand the why, which is what you have, I think, just adequately explained, because a lot of them will say to me, but this is our freedom of speech. We shouldn't be restricted in the things that we say out in the community. And so unlike some other governments, I think the distinction here is that the civil servants really operate apart and separate from the political arm. So they're not hired by politicians. They are not, I know the US has a slightly different model. Some people are appointed in positions once a new president or whatever comes into office, or new governor and so on. Here in the Cayman Islands, the model that we follow, the model of governance that we follow, is the civil service, my apologies, is supposed to be neutral, politically neutral. And they're there, we call them the technocrats. They're there to do a specific job. And oftentimes that job will mean working closely with the political arm in order to help them achieve their objectives. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. So our public service code of conduct states very clearly that we should be free from political bias, that we should be apolitical, that we should conduct ourselves in a way that the existing government and future governments want to continue to have that trust and confidence in us. That is why ministers do not get involved in the hiring and firing of civil servants, so that maintains the political neutrality. We had, if you think about what happened previously, the progressives were in power for 8 years, and then we had a change in the last 4 years. And the civil service, I think, in my opinion, did a really good job in pivoting from being led by a progressive government to being led by a government of independence. And we worked very hard over the last 4 years to support the government of the day. And I think we have, made that transition as well as we could. Listen, we are people, so their relationships, they're things that you build with ministers over a period of time. But then when they are out of office, they are out of office. And our job now is to then serve the persons who are in office. So the transition is very important. It is sometimes can be challenging when you have worked with someone for a long period of time. But I am very proud in the way in which the civil service pivoted from 8 years of the progressives to now, 4 years of another government. And we will have to pivot again, depending on what the people of the Cayman Islands decide.
Yes, very good. So sometimes, though, there is admittedly a thin line people are not sure. Can I do this, but I can't do that? So we're going to answer some very, very specific questions. Mr. Francis Manderson, I should say, the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Francis Manderson, is going to answer some very, very specific questions. And we've got them already coming in. So one person wants to know if they are allowed to wear any sort of what they're calling, memorabilia or gear. Can they wear T-shirts, hats, anything like that?
No, they shouldn't. And again, the reason behind that is we are supposed to be politically neutral. So if you're a civil servant, working in a ministry, and you are tomorrow out wearing the colors of a particular candidate, and that candidate does not win, and their opponent wins, and that person comes into government and they says, but Deputy Governor, that staff member over there was clearly for my opponent. I am going to have some, I have difficulty now saying that I'm going to trust this person with carrying out my duties and responsibilities with passion, and going to be able to get the job done. Then that would be a legitimate complaint from an incoming MP or minister. So we don't want to put our civil servants in that type of position where people can say that they're not being politically neutral and that they are not willing to serve the government of the day.
All right. So that clarifies that question. Now, the person said, what about colors? Because my gosh, it's gotten so ridiculous now with the parties. On Saturday, I was covering an event. And so I was actually wearing a pink. It was like a hot pink color. But someone said to me afterwards, Sandy, boy, you were bold on Saturday. And I said, what do you mean bold? I mean, okay, what does that mean? And they said, oh, I saw you wearing red. And I'm like, I didn't wear red. But of course, then in my head, I'm like, what if I did? Because, you were at a TCCP event. And I thought, well, I was actually wearing hot pink. But, my staff shirts come in all colors. Now I have to decide, if I'm working this particular event, I can't wear this particular color. It does venture on a bit of being absolutely ridiculous because people are now judging you. And this is what I don't like about the whole party system. But people are judging you based on the very color that you decide to wear. So can someone wear red without y'all thinking that they're in favor of a particular party?
Yeah, so absolutely. So we have to be careful how far we take this. I'm not saying to my civil servants, stop, just wear white and black all day. So we can't go that far. I have a tie that I wear that I think is just all colors, so that there can be no misconception. But that's like I said, we can't take this too far. So. Obviously, I don't want civil servants saying, I'm going out to shopping today and I can't wear, yellow or red or something. So we're not going that far, but just do not wear anything that identifies you as a member of a particular party or group. Yes.
Let me ask you a question now. They can go to political meetings, yes?
That's correct.
So if they go to a political meeting, say PPM, and they wear red, would that be interpreted as being supportive? Should they?
Yes. On that particular time, I would wear a neutral color. I wouldn't go there wearing red. And by all means, ask questions. Now, again, civil servants, have inside knowledge of government, and they have to be careful how they use that knowledge in their questioning. So you don't want to be doing something that's going to be embarrassing to a candidate because of your inside knowledge. By all means, ask questions. Be informed. You want to know, like I said, who you want to vote for, using all of the information that is available to you. But just do it in a way that does not attract undue attention to yourself.
So they can attend meetings. They can ask questions. Someone wants to know, can they clap and cheer if they go to a political meeting? Like if they hear something they like, are they able to,
Sure, I see no reason with them saying, clapping if someone says something that they agree with. But like I said, don't do things that you're going to make you stand out and
Right.
give others the impression that you're not being as politically neutral
Yeah.
as
So
possible.
you don't want to be the person sitting in the front row with the blowhorn.
That's correct. That's a great way of putting it. Yes.
Yes. All right. So some good questions. Another one that says, can a political sign be placed in a civil servant's yard? So if somebody
No.
comes by their yard and say, hey, can I have permission to put my sign in your yard?
So that would be against the rules, and again, that would go against the circular that we put out.
Okay.
You should not be doing things that are going to let people think that you are a member of a particular party or group.
Because some people will say all the signs are welcome. Like they don't, they'll say every candidate running can use my yard, that corner, that sweet spot in the corner of Windsor Park or whatever. So they don't necessarily care. But you think that probably goes a little bit too far. Yeah, sorry. I was just saying you think that the yard signs is too far.
I think I lost you there, Sandy.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying that if it was a situation where they have a particular sweet spot location, where they're in the corner of Windsor Park and whatever, and all of the candidates. I think somehow he dropped out. He's in the stream with audio. Oh, okay, he's still there. Yes, I've added this new thing where it doesn't show there. All right, Mr. Manderson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. So my question is, does it matter, or do you just want to affirm no yard signs? Does it matter if they said all candidates can use my yard?
No yard signs.
No yard signs.
That keeps it very
simple. And there's
simple.
no confusion. Yes, keeps it clean. All right. Next question. Can civil servants attend political meetings? We've already answered that in the affirmative. So yes, ma'am, you can attend, and you can even clap a little bit, but don't be the person with the blowhorn and shouting out, what your opinion is in the middle of the meeting. All right, let's continue on and see what other questions we have here. We're getting quite a few of them. Very good. Let me see here. Let me see who else we got here now. All right. Oh, here's another one. Right. So, okay. Ask France if we can call into question candidates live. So like when they're on this show, for example, can they call and ask them a question?
Of course, you have a right to, like I said, to be politically informed. So if you have a question on a candidate's position on something that you're very interested in, by all means, call in, submit questions. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right. What about dressing your child in a political shirt and they wear neutral colors?
Oh boy, that's a good one. Listen. My view is, if it was my child, I wouldn't do it. I'm going to do everything possible to ensure that and the perception is that I am politically neutral, that I am not, myself or my child or my husband or my wife are not involved in supporting a particular party. That we are remaining neutral. I would go to my way to make sure that happens.
Interesting. I'm kind of thinking about the logistics of that. I mean, my husband is now a voter, but he's a very different person politically than I am. He's very, quiet and that sort of thing. And I don't, I may not necessarily express exactly who I'm going to vote for, but sometimes I may. And, I was just thinking, if he was a civil servant, would I expect him to, I don't know. I mean, I certainly wouldn't expect him to be dressing, say I was a civil servant rather, and he was just a spouse, but can I control what he wears?
Yes.
That becomes a question of he's his own person. I mean, a child, maybe if you as the civil servant are going to a meeting with a child, then obviously the child is like a handbag. They're an accessory, right? So you shouldn't dress them up. But if I was going with my spouse, I'm not sure I could tell, you might not be able to tell your spouse what to wear. But.
Right. And we understand that. Like I said, it is about making every effort to ensure that no one can say that you are not being politically neutral. I would probably take, obviously as head of the civil service, I have to I set a different standard for myself. But again, we don't want to take this too far.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that we have the balance. Like I said, my major concern as head of the civil service is to ensure when the people have elected a new government and they walk into the government building, that they feel very comfortable that the civil service is ready and willing to work with them and to deliver for the people of the Cayman Islands. That is my overriding concern. And the reason why we issue these policies is to ensure that our elected leaders have trust and confidence in their civil service. They cannot build docks. They cannot fix roads. They cannot do the things that they need to get done. That is the job of the civil service and the wider public service. So we want to make sure that we are ready to deliver for the government.
Okay. All right. We had a caller. Looks like they hung up. Let's just give them a call back. Don't forget, folks, if you're calling from flow number.
Sorry, the number you are calling is unable to.
Remember that it is toll free, so you don't have to hang up to save any credits. Thanks to Flow for giving us a toll free number these days. You're able to call into the program toll free. So we have a lot of scenarios, 600 people listening on the live stream this morning. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning. I hung up because I believe that he answered my question.
Okay.
So basically, my question was like, obviously with a person who is a civil servant versus their spouse, etc. He was saying that for him, he would go above and beyond, and I guess ask his spouse not to wear certain colors or whatever. But that's not a black and white rule. Like your spouse can do whatever because they're not a civil servant.
Yeah.
Is that correct? I mean, you would encourage them not to, obviously, but like for instance, my husband he can ask me not to wear a certain color or a certain shirt, but
she may not listen.
Yeah. We have, like I said, and great question, and thanks for the call. We have to be reasonable with this. So of course you can't tell your spouse what to do and what not to do. But we want to make sure, as the person just said, it's about perception. We want to make sure that we are not our elected leaders, the persons that you elect to run for office, doesn't come into the civil service believing that we are not there to serve them, because that's the job of the civil service, is to serve the government of the day.
Okay, thank you very much, caller.
I think. Can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
I think if they are elected and they say to a person, "Oh, I can't work with you because your wife supports another candidate," I think maybe we chose the wrong candidate, but that's just my opinion. Because if I have a PPM sign on my car, right, then okay, probably my husband shouldn't drive my car. But you can't control what everyone is related to someone who works in civil service.
Yeah. Good point. So to that point, Mr. Manderson, the civil service is pretty large, and it is also the largest voting bloc when you think about it. So something to consider there. Another question. So we're trying to define, I'm glad that you guys are asking very specific things. One person said, are we allowed to comment or like posts on Facebook?
So again, we have to be very careful about what we do that. So we have made some notes around that. You shouldn't. I think you have to be careful about what is being said. So our rule is that you should just refrain from liking or commenting, because we have to be careful what you're liking or commenting to. So it could be something that again would give that candidate who could potentially be a minister to say that your views are different from their views on particular things. So if for example, in the Ministry of Tourism, there is a potential candidate who is saying, I want to build a dock in West Bay, and you are in the Ministry of Tourism and you're writing there saying, I think this is a real bad idea, then of course, that can put you at odds with a minister who comes in and decides that they want to build a dock and rest. So we have to be very careful about what we do. It's probably not worth making that comment or just hitting that like button. Just, read, be informed, and be neutral.
All right. Someone says, there might be a situation where you live in a yard with multiple people, and maybe somebody else in that yard is the landlord or the control of the property, and they allow a sign, you're a civil servant, and you simply live there. So there's so many scenarios that people may not have control of. I like this thought, France. I'm going to throw this one at you. This person says, if the civil service wants to control the spouse too, then just put them on the payroll. Hire everybody.
Cool. Yeah. We can't hire everyone. Unfortunately.
All right, let's look at some of the comments. So Brandon, good morning, Brandon says, so I can follow all my potential candidates in my district, what they say on Facebook or Instagram. However, I cannot like the post. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. By all means, do everything possible to be politically informed. Attend meetings, and attend meetings.
Follow them on social media.
Follow them on social media. You have a right to hear and know and understand everything that they're all about. Just be careful about how you interact. Yes.
Yes. All right, Selvin.
Thank you, Mr. McLean.
Yeah, Selvin says, I think all these restrictions will drive the civil service underground. I still have their preferred candidate, and to my mind, trampling on the rights of the individual because of being a civil servant. So there are people who obviously feel that way. Yeah. Shaka says, Uncle France, do you realize how you're restricting Caymanians from taking part in the national dialogue just because they are civil servants? Please, let's add some common sense to our government worker. Cayman 49er has a general question. Who appoints the deputy governor for the Cayman Islands? So someone is wondering how you become deputy governor.
Yeah, you apply for the job.
You're considered a civil servant, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So you apply for the job. It is in our constitution. It says that the deputy governor must be a Caymanian, must have been a senior civil servant for a number of years. And the appointment is made by Her Excellency the Governor in consultation with the Secretary of State in United Kingdom. And that is because from time to time, I will act as governor. And the people in the UK want to be have some say in that appointment, but ultimately it's the governor of the Cayman Island who makes the appointment. And I was appointed in 2012, so I'm on my year 13 and having a good time. So yes, that's what the rules say. I don't think that we are if she said Uncle Franz, I guess she's my niece. I don't think that we are hampering these our civil servants at all. A matter of fact, I think it's the opposite. These rules have been around for the last 50 years. There's nothing new that we are putting out here. We just updated it with the times. 50 years ago, but
there wasn't any social media.
There was no social media.
Yeah, we probably didn't have any T-shirts either.
Yeah, exactly. So all we're doing now is doing everything possible to ensure that our civil servants are politically informed, but the elected persons that you vote in have confidence that their civil servants will work hard for them every day.
Yes. All right. Shaka says, Auntie Sandy, these rules are draconian. By the way, it's not your niece. It's just it's just a term of endearment and respect on our program here because we're like family. So Shaka says, Auntie Sandy, these rules are draconian in nature and need to be reconsidered and revamped. Give Caymanians a voice to speak out or express themselves. Abby says, once out of uniform, the civil service gag shouldn't apply. Freedom of speech isn't so free here. No yard signs. What happened to the right to private property? Rennie, I'll just read some of the comments, France. You don't have to comment on all of them. Rennie says, can they wear their Cayman Islands shirts when going out? Maybe that's a good option, actually.
Of course. I have a Cayman Island shirt. I wear it from time to time. Be proud of being a Caymanian. Be proud of your heritage. Just don't wear a shirt with a politician's face on it. Yes. Yeah.
So Lavana, who works for Cayman Airways, now these rules apply both to core government and all of the agencies alike. So all of the authorities and stuff like that. Okay. Because when I was talking to someone over the weekend, they said, oh, but authorities are different and have different rules. I said, I don't think so.
Yeah, this is the public service code of conduct that I am referring to. Yes, so the entire public service.
Yes. All right. So Lavana says, I get asked a lot about putting yard signs in my yard, but I told them no. I had also confirmed this with Mr. Anderson. Anything I'm not sure about, I ask him. Yeah. So very good.
Lavana, good morning, Lavana. Good to hear from you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes,
Island
did
Pearl,
ask me about it. Yes.
Yes. Island Pearl says, what if a civil servant lives in a yard with other people and they support a particular party and the sign is placed? Would that civil servant be reprimanded for it?
Yeah. So obviously, and I think you made the point earlier, Sandy, is that we have to be reasonable in our application of this. So if you're in a tenement yard and the landlord places the sign, then obviously that's nothing that you can do about it. Yeah, I would proactively inform my line manager about it, but I would be worried about any repercussions for that.
Right. So there's quite a few questions around civil servants. Priscilla says civil servants should feel protected and not being victimized because of their choices. So what do you do? I mean, this is actually a really good question. Say a civil servant follows all the rules and everything, but a candidate comes in there, they're successful or not, either way, and they think that they know how a civil servant voted, like, oh, I know your family's pro this party or whatever. And that individual starts to feel victimized by that newly elected MP. Are there any things in, anything in place to protect the civil servants?
Yes, absolutely, and that's a key part of my job, is to ensure that civil servants are not politically victimized. So in the Public Service Management Act, there is a section that says if a civil servant believes that they are being politically victimized, they should report it up the chain of command. And normally what would happen then is I would have a conversation with the minister or the premier and ask for them to cease and desist. And if that doesn't work, then I will go to my line manager, the governor, and insist then or ask that they then take it up with the premier in a bit more forceful manner. But thank God, we don't really have a lot of those issues. For the most part, we all get along. Everyone works together as we should for the people of the Cayman Islands. And these rules are put in place so that those things doesn't happen. Prevention is better than cure. So I would rather spend, again, time with you this morning educating our people than end up having to deal with a problem later on because these rules.
Somebody didn't understand it.
The whole reason why I'm here this morning is that I want to prevent issues from coming up.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Okay, I have a question. So basically, what's the difference with the civil servant basically not being able to support certain parties versus the general public because of, I guess, having to be forced to work with whatever government is put in? But what if the general public, like another candidate, this is Cayman, knows of another person, and they're like, oh, well, they got in for your constituency, right? And they're like, oh, well, we know you supported X party, but the opposite party got in. And they start to come to you and whatever you go to them with, they're a bit hesitant to want to assist you.
So you're saying if this person isn't a civil servant? If this person
Correct.
isn't a civil, okay, all right. So, I mean, in that case, I guess Mr. Manderson doesn't have any direct control over that situation, because we do see that where candidates will, they're successful. Well, oh, I know you didn't support me and vote for me, so I can't help you from a constituency office perspective. Is there anything that can be done about that? I guess that's more on the political side, France. So I don't know that you would get involved in that level of complaint. I guess they can call CMR and complain about it.
Yeah, because I mean, I just heard that, if it's happening to a civil servant, they can go and report it.
Right.
So what if it's happening to a member of the public? I mean, to me,
Good morning, you there?
Yes. Can you hear us, Mr. Manderson? Can you hear us? All right, I'll convey your question because I understand what you're saying. Yeah, so the question really is, the civil service has, you just outlined how they can talk about how or they have some recourse, I suppose, if they feel like they are being, discriminated against or something. But the general public, does the general public have any recourse if that's happening to them? You wouldn't get involved in that, I guess.
No. I mean, obviously, ministers are under the control of the premier. The premier appoints their ministers. The premier holds their ministers accountable. So anything like that should be reported to the premier, who would then can look into the matter. Yeah.
Right. All right. And if they're not a minister, then just come and complain on CMR about them. Inspiring says, what are the consequences for a civil servant who participates in a political campaign in violation of the Cayman Islands Civil Service Code of Conduct? So if they're in contravention of these rules, what happens to them?
Yes. So if a civil servant is found to have breached our code of conduct, we would take disciplinary action. We would write to them, give them a chance to give their side of the story. And once we have all of the facts, then a decision would be made. It could be a warning, it could be a reprimand, it could be dismissal, depending on the seriousness of the matter. But again, the whole point of me being here this morning, so we don't get to that type of situation. We haven't had many cases of that at all, so I want that to continue.
Yes. All right. We have a caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy, and good morning, Mr. Madison. This is a question for Mr. Madison concerning the way that Chris Sanders are going on threatening people in the House of Parliament. What action will be taken against him? Because that is serious. When you get into the House of Parliament and threaten people, that they say anything that causes mother to go into the hospital. Apparently, after that, a couple of days after that, nobody mentioned anything. I got a long memory. I don't know how much short-term memory, but I got a long-term memory. And action should have been taken. He should not even be able to run, threatening people. And then he says, "Oh, they're not even going to know that it was me that." I don't want to go into any details because everybody heard it. I'd like to find out what Mr. Madison is thoughts on that.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Paula. Yes, the behavior of MPs is not something under my remit at all. The Parliament is completely separate from the civil service. There is a speaker there, so yes, I have no control of behavior of MPs. The Premier and the people of the Cayman Islands is who hold them accountable, not Franz Manderson. So I focus in my lane on civil service matters. Yes.
All right. Mr. Dexter, what I would say is the people of the Cayman Islands can hold, they must remember that they can hold MPs accountable come April the 30th. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning,
I want to find out, okay, Mr. Manderson was stating that civil servants shouldn't be out there, showing their interest in whatever candidate, and that they're doing something to try and protect the civil servants. But I want to know.
Well, he didn't exactly say that. He didn't say you can't show your interest. He said you can't show overt support for a particular candidate. Yes. He said be interested and educate yourself and attend these meetings.
Right. So my question is now, what is he doing to protect the civil servants when MPs get in and don't want to work with a civil servant? Not even if they didn't show interest in a particular candidate. It happened time and time again.
Yes.
They're not supposed to be able to hire civil servants, but yet they can go in and dictate who they want to work with. It shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, caller. Mr. Manderson, that's a fair question because we've seen on more than one occasion ministers refusing to work, especially with chief officers and stuff.
Sorry, Sandy, it's breaking up. I'm not hearing too well.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that we have seen, and to her point, we've seen on more than one occasion where the political arm has gone in there and they have refused to work with certain civil servants. And you know it all too well because a lot of times you end up taking them into your area in the civil service. So how is that person protected? I mean, obviously, the general and respected separation of power means that the civil service shouldn't have interference from the political arm. They're not supposed to be able to fire, hire, and so on. But there are stories that we know about, and we see evidence of where politicians still are trying to interfere. So what happens when a politician comes in and says to you, Mr. Manderson, I don't want to work with this chief officer? You move them around. Should you be even doing that? I mean, should you not tell the politician, no, you stay in your lane?
Yes, I mean, and I can do that, but the question is that in the best interests of the people of the Cayman Islands? What I'm supposed to do is to work hard for the government and the people of the Cayman Islands. So if you're going to have the two leading people in a ministry not wanting to work with the other, is that going to be the best thing for the people of the Cayman Islands? Is that going to get the work done? So my decisions are based on what's best for the government and the people of the Cayman Islands to ensure that we are working hard to make the people's lives better. So sometimes that means moving people around. My job is to make sure that they are protected, that they are, if they're moved to a place where they can shine. And I've been able to do that. But that happens from time to time. I'm praying it never happens again, but it could. So it happens, and it happens in other jurisdictions as well. But my job as head of the civil service is to ensure that our civil servants are treated fairly and is respected in the work that they do.
All right, so we're going to try to wrap it up here with Mr. Manderson. Yes. We do have Mr. Alric also waiting. I'm sure he'll go back and read your general comments. Ms. Brenda, this is some very interesting advice. She said the best course of action is to go to all the meetings, wear your birthday suit, so no one can accuse you of bias then.
Hi, Brenda. Yes.
You might get in trouble for another reason, Ms. Brenda.
Yes, exactly.
Balika says there's a Privy Council case from Antigua which says that a civil service who is not in a senior capacity can attend a protest march against corruption in the government.
Yes, and we would have similar rules to that as well. We have a policy on petitions and marches and those things like that. So obviously, the higher up in a civil service you are, is a bit more restrictions, but civil servants on a lower level who wants to go out and march and do things, then we try to give them as much freedom as possible. Yes. So I agree.
All right. So just another question that has come in. Everybody's like, please ask my question. Don't let Mr. Manderson leave. We can't kidnap him. You know, this just shows, Mr. Manderson, you need to come in the program more. This person.
Yes, I always want to. One of the things, we have such great news to share from time to time. So yes. Once this whole season is over, then I'll have to find a way to come on more regularly.
Make it a regular, absolutely.
Some of the good things that we're doing in the civil service, yes.
Yes. Can the spouse of a civil servant work on a polling station on election day with a particular MP?
That's a good question. Again, if it was me, I would be asking my wife not to do it. Again, it depends on the level of the civil servant. If this is somebody that is not working in a ministry, is far removed from a particular MP, they could probably get away with it. If you're more senior, then maybe not. Like I said, and whoever said it is right. It's about perception. We do not want to give anyone the perception to say that a particular civil servant is bias against any particular candidate, because they could end up being their minister one day, and the minister needs to have confidence in his staff. So that is the overriding principle. Civil servants, if you have questions, please direct them to your line manager, your HOD, your chief officer. Myself is always available. So, I hope we cleared up a lot of issues this morning, but if not, please do contact your line manager. We're here to get this right. This is a very important election, so I want everyone to make sure that they are politically informed while observing our code of conduct.
All right, here's one. The DG is well aware of former ministers, particularly in the PAC and UPM, of former ministers and their deputy chief officers actively at risk with each other. Why didn't France do something to stop that particular deputy chief officer, health and wellness?
What was the question, sorry?
Okay, so the question says, the DG is well aware of former ministers, particularly in the PACT and UPM, and their deputy chief officers actively at rift with each other. Why didn't France do something to stop that particular deputy chief officer in health and wellness? So I think what they're saying is that deputy chief officer was at risk with a minister, and why wasn't something done about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into any particular case, but we have these things happen from time to time. But obviously, our job is to make sure that the ministry, whichever ministry it is, continues to operate at the highest level. And I think we have been able to achieve that. So yeah, I don't want to go into specifics here, but we work hard every day to try to deliver for the ministers, and there will be disagreements from time to time, but for the most part, it works very well.
Yes, and another civil servant says that DC was miserable and don't get along with anyone. I don't honestly know why they promoted her. Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, we know Mr. Manderson will not comment on that. Pat has a good suggestion. May I suggest that each department come on CMR regularly to inform and educate the people on their function. And on that note, I'm happy to say that we're going to have a feature that we're going to be playing later on this week from Hazard Management. They invited us in, and we had a wonderful interview with them on Friday, and we got to see some of the systems that they use. I learned a lot. It was very, very educational. So I want to extend a big thank you to Miss Danielle Coleman and her entire team who sent out the invitation and invited me, and we're so forthcoming with what it is that they do. So I think you guys are going to enjoy that, Miss Pat. So make sure you keep an eye on when we'll be airing that a little bit later on in the week. So Mr. Manderson, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
You're always a hit when you come on. But like I said, we're not going to keep you hostage. I know you're very, very busy, and we appreciate you spending some time with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for inviting me on. As you said, I think we can do a better job as to coming on more regularly and educating the public about what's happening in the civil services, and to be accountable and hear their questions and concerns. I do want to put in a plug for the DG's 5K. I was just back from Little Cayman. We had a wonderful time over there. We had about 55 persons show up from Little Cayman. I want to thank everyone in the Little Cayman community for coming out and supporting the DG's 5K. We are in Cayman Brac this weekend, and on the 30th, we're in Grand Cayman. Sunday, we have selected some really great charities, our Boy Scouts, our Girls Brigade, and 1-to-1, which was formerly Big Brothers Big Sisters. The DG's 5K Challenge has raised over $600,000 in the last 10 years for various charities. It's a win-win for everyone. Come out, get your heart rate up, see some people that you have not seen in a long time, have a great time, and also then give back to some amazing charities. So Sunday, it's a challenge. So I'm challenging you to be there on the 30th. Get you and your family out. Come on out, and let's make this year's 5K challenge the best ever. Last year, we had over 2,000 persons take part. So let's do better this year. But again, thanks for having me on. Good morning to everyone again, especially to my amazing civil servants. And thank you, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right, folks, that's the Honorable France Manderson, Deputy Governor. El Rey says, run for life, encouraging people to get out there and participate in these healthy activities like the 5K. All right, we've got Mr. Alric Lindsay up next. Good morning to Mr. Lindsay, who is running in the general election. Again, folks, election day coming up April the 30th, right around the corner. And he's running in the district of Georgetown South. Good morning, Alric. How are you?
Good morning. In terms of expectations, I wanted to attend that that appeal matter this morning, so I'm gonna have to leave at 10.
Mm-hmm.
The matter with the Ethiopians that were smuggling, that were being smuggled,
right?
They were caught in Cameron Brack, so they're appealing this morning. So I want to catch that. But I just wanted to jump in on your current discussion on what's appropriate for civil servants. I'll just give you overall. I feel that they should expand the boundaries of participation as long as there are some rules regarding confidentiality. And I'll just give you one example. For example, in my line of work, I have to keep information confidential for each client. Now, the client also understands that I can work for other similar companies, similar clients that have similar business. When I work for those other businesses, I also sign a confidentiality agreement. So what I'm trying to get at is, I believe that the boundaries for civil service participation can be expanded as long as they sign a confidentiality agreement saying that they're not going to discuss the confidential nature of their jobs and their ministries. I feel like the civil service members of the civil service are professionals. They're professional enough to know that if they sign a confidentiality agreement, then they won't talk about, like a confidential cabinet paper or, back and forth conversations in their department in the civil service.
Right.
I think we can appreciate them and respect them enough to expect that if they sign the agreement, that they would comply. And so I think that I repeat again, the boundaries can be expanded as long as there's a confidentiality agreement, there's a good governance framework, so that everyone agrees that, I can go outside government hours and I can support the candidate of my choice as long as I don't disclose private confidential information of the government.
All right. I take France Matterson's point about, it's more of a perception, and then you have people coming in who may feel that you may or may not want to work with them. But I also am reading the comments from our listeners who are saying quite clearly that maybe what we need to do is select MPs who are more mature, and that will be a matter for the voters come April the 30th. Because I can tell you the things, Alric, that shock me that MPs pick up on. And, even in the last election, people were coming on the show and they'd be like, oh, Auntie Sandy, this person came on before my segment, so therefore you like them more than me. And they get all up in their feelings. Like, I had spouses messaging me like, oh, my wife, was supposed to come on first and you're giving the next guy too much time and she's not going to have enough time. I was like, what? It is, I guess they're human and they get in their feelings, and, we can really hear some ridiculousness coming out of them. So to France Manderson's point, I also know, I'm sure that he's getting regular complaints that verge on the ridiculous from these so-called MPs and ministers and so on, about what civil servants are doing and the perception, and, oh, they gave me a look. I'm always shocked when people are like, oh, well, Sandy, when I called in, you had a certain look on your face. I'm like, my goodness, are y'all for real? So I think a lot of these MPs just need to grow up is the advice that I would give them. Stop worrying about what people have on their faces. Johan, this is the first comment I've seen from you this morning. Where have you been? Auntie Sandy's BFF, he says. I'm not sure if he's referring to Mr. Manderson or Alric, but neither one of them have that privilege. But I appreciate them coming on the program. We know, obviously, Mr. Lindsay is a candidate, and you guys know, I've said it multiple times, that he's a candidate, and like all candidates at this particular time, they're paying for the privilege of being in our presence. And I mean our, meaning yours and mine, because, you know, they get access to 600 people right now on the live stream. Priscilla says she's talking about a meeting, a political meeting that she went to. And then she says Town West would have a great representative. She's advocating for a particular person. One thing about the new candidates is if they had no parts in, it got cut off. Base your decisions on your own opinions after listening to their ideas and solutions. So, Alric, this is a good point. We'll just, we know you have some restrictions this morning, so we can't go too deep into some of the more pertinent issues, but you know, everybody has an opinion. Obviously, people are going to be supporting different people. There is a general thought that, and I want to get your opinion on this, support someone just because they're fresh and they're new, and they don't have any political baggage, right? So that's interesting. But do you think that that is a reason to vote for someone just because they're fresh and they're new and they have no political baggage? I mean, you're a voter too. So what do you look for when you're trying to vote for someone?
Well, I look at their track record in terms of, you know, perhaps their business. I look at if they were previously involved in any sort of scandals. Since you're talking to me as a voter,
yes,
I look at their education, or general knowledge. I look at what they've actually done in their communities. I look at the level of involvement that they have when it comes to politics. So, for example, have they supported any particular initiative publicly in the past? Have they written articles for or against any particular issues? That gives me an idea of what their perspectives are, and also gives me a hint at what their approach might be if particular issues arise in Parliament. So I think it's a combination of things that help to guide my vote. It's not just one thing. It's not just one thing. For example, if a person has been in Parliament for 30 years, I'm not just going to look at that, because I also have to look at his or her accomplishments in the last 30 years. I have to look at his or her compliance with governance, accountability, all those things over the past 30 years. So I don't believe it's one thing. I believe it's a combination of factors that I would consider, but I do appreciate that every voter is different, and every voter has their own specific focus.
We have a caller in the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you, dear?
Not bad. How are you? Question or comment for a guest?
Well, it's actually not really for your guest. It's just a comment. A gentleman asked me to actually call because he's fighting cancer, and Brit K has been giving him a runaround with a policy that matured from November.
Okay, can I just pause you? Sorry, let me just pause you right there, because Mr. Alric is paying for the time, and he's on for a very, very limited time.
Oh, no problem.
Yes,
no
so
problem.
Let me invite you during an open mic opportunity to jump back on with that. Yes?
No problem.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so we do want to be respectful of the candidates when they're here. They're getting a certain allotment of time, so let's keep it focused on the issues. And I mean, not to say that that might not have been an issue but that sounded like that was going to be a very long, specific, involved story. Priscilla says we elect the same MPs who repeatedly fail us, so it's time to vote smarter. So what are your thoughts, Alric, again, perhaps as both a voter and a candidate, of this concept that what you do is you go in there and you, I think somebody else said, Darlene said, let's just do a clean sweep, get everybody out who's ever been in there before and put in all new people. Do you think that that would be a very successful approach to electing members of parliament? So we had every single new person in there, just voting them in because they're new. What would you see working in there?
The thing is, I want to be honest. Now, if you look at all of the supposedly educated candidates, the candidates that have supposedly 10, 30 years experience in Parliament, we have to look at what the actual outcomes are. So when you see that a lot of stuff hasn't been done, for example, we've had several reports produced for the government on improvements to public transport. Those reports have never been implemented. We have a 22-year-old report on stormwater management, never implemented. So you have to look at the outcomes. So it's not just if you bring in fresh candidates, then you still have to look at what they produce within their time in Parliament. So I do think it's a difficult question. I do think that some understanding of how government works is necessary. I do think that some understanding of the Constitution and what your interactions are between MP and civil service and civil service and the public. I think you have to have a general understanding of those things. You have to have a general understanding of, I think, financial reports, because you're going to have to be reviewing reports of different ministers, etc. So I do think that there is value in having fresh perspectives and fresh candidates, but you have to combine that with what special attributes are you finding about these new candidates that could result in positive contributions to the government and to policy and to the overall civil service and the country. So I don't think it's one thing that you can look at. I don't think you can discount a new candidate just because they're new to government. I think you have to look at an overall picture of what that candidate brings. And then you make a decision. You say to yourself, do they have all of the attributes that I would expect of a person to act on my behalf or on the country's behalf, domestically and internationally? Do they have those attributes? And I think that's a question that voters have to answer. I personally will look at a combination of things, like I said. And as I say, when you look at experienced candidates, they've made mistakes and they've failed to accomplish stuff. But their experience is worth something. When you look at new candidates, although they may not have had government experience, they still have attributes that could be valuable. So, I mean, it's up to each voter.
Yeah. And as they say, sometimes you don't throw out the baby but with the bathwater. So, I mean, experience does matter and experience does count. And I agree with you. I'm of two minds as well, because just because someone is fresh and new doesn't mean that they're going to go in there and do a better job. Obviously, you're not going to know that until you give them a chance. But what those of us who are in business and, professional services and stuff, that everybody has to start somewhere. And there is, a training ground, so to speak. And a lot of times what ends up happening is the general voter doesn't appreciate when an MP gets in there, how long it takes them to accomplish a single thing. Because as Mr. Manderson said, they are working with the civil service. They're working with the technocrats. So it's not the MP or minister who goes in there and says, okay, we want to do X, Y, and Z. Let's get it done tomorrow. And it happens. A lot of times they're giving civil servants deadlines that are simply not being met. They're asking for reports and, different deliverables that do not on a regular basis get delivered within that time frame. And yes, they don't have the power to fire anybody. So, and to keep the house, if you will, as happy as possible, they've got to work with the civil servants within their portfolio to try to achieve these objectives and these goals. So I actually think that the average person doesn't have a clue, and I'm not trying to insult anybody because I also don't have a whole lot of a clue of how it works, what it's like to actually be in there as a minister, what it's like to, I often think about, for example, Minister Sabrina Turner, who was saying she's pressing, like, why don't we have the CO for the mental health facility, right? She can't go down there and tell them to put a nail here and a hammer here and whatever. It's not passing planning. Another department is responsible for delivering the CO to her. So she does not even have any direct responsibility in terms of that part of it. It must be challenging and frustrating at times for people to achieve goals that they are not directly responsible for executing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you know what, like if you come to me and you say, Sandy, here's something that I want you to do, and that's within my remit, I can get it done, right? I'm like, great. I can look at it. What are your expectations? These are the deliverables. Okay, give me this amount of time frame. This is what I'm going to do. And then I go out there and get it done. If I'm relying on third parties and multiple third parties, and then people outside of my ministry to get certain things done before I can accomplish my goals, that's a very difficult situation, because how do I even hold those individuals accountable? And I think these are some of the real world conversations that we need to have about how the system works. So every single MP and who becomes a minister, they go in there, they say to me, they're so shocked at how slow the system is, the lack of controls that they have as minister, and that people don't get it. And they themselves didn't get it, because when they got on a platform and they promised all of these reforms and all of these things, they didn't realize what it would take to actually get that done. So my fear with the new people is that because they have zero experience working in the civil service, zero experience politically, some of them still live at home with their parents. They don't know how to manage a simple budget, much less, a budget into the millions of dollars. You put them in government, and that's when you're going to see, I think we're officially off air now because it's 9:29, but that's when you're going to see a real shit show. You're not going to see the things being done that you think you will. So just because it's a new, fresh face doesn't mean that should be the single most important criteria that you think about putting someone in. And they can have great ideas. I mean, in my opinion, ideas are a dime a dozen, right? Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has ideas. Whether or not those ideas are even workable, if they've never been in the system, and, they've never sat on a board. Alric, you have sat on a board, and you can speak perhaps from your own experience to some of the difficulties of getting things done, even at the board level, because even as chairman of the board, you can't go in there and tell, you were chairman of the NRA board, you couldn't go and tell Mr. Edward exactly what he had to do, could you?
No.
And people don't get that. They're like, well, you're chairman of the board. Why aren't you controlling it? And then the politicians come to you and they're directing you on what the board objectives should be. And so you've got your board objectives, and yet you still can't get things done because you might be saying, well, I recommend this, or I think you should be looking in this direction. Ultimately, it's up to the civil servant to get it done, isn't it?
Yes, it's if the CEO does not engage the other civil servants below him, the board cannot get involved to make sure it gets done. So you have to respect the division between the board and the actual workers on the ground, which is covered under the Public Authorities Act.
Mm-hmm. So there's separation of power there. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning.
Yes.
Yeah. The people who are who run businesses wrongly believe that when they get in, they'll be able to just tell the employee what to do, and if they don't do it, they'll get fired. And when they get in there, what they begin to discover is that the person who is responsible for administering the country is the governor. And that since it's too much work for the governor, he will delegate some of that responsibility to people that they call MPs. And so those MPs will sit down and make decisions about what they think should happen, but they can't fire the governor's employees, because the civil servants work for the UK. They don't work for us. They work for the UK. And that's why they fall under the governor. And so you can't touch that part of government. You can say what you'd like to have done, but you can't just jump up and reorganize things the way you would in your own business. And so I remember when Roy McTaggart was first elected to the House, he thought he had it all figured out. And I could still see him standing up in the LA now, admitting that he just didn't have any idea about all the rules that he had to comply with.
Yep.
And
he was a senior person in business. So think about what happens when you take even even less senior people in business who have no real business experience, and you try to throw them in government because, yes, they're a fresh new face, how do you think they're going to achieve anything in even 4 years? Someone says,
Right.
oh, it should only take them 6 months. You see, this is where Damon says the size of our population and all these issues should be resolved in 6 months and implemented, not 4+ years and more. This is an indication that our people do not understand how the system actually works.
Well, I remember calling your program a while back and started talking about what money is and inflation and so forth, and people were not interested. But those same people will turn around and they will complain about the high cost of living. Well, if you don't understand what the problem is, you have no chance of coming up with a solution.
Yeah.
So if you're not willing to listen and learn, then I don't know what to tell you. But anyhow.
Thank you so much. It's very, very interesting. All right, we've got a couple of questions for you, Alric. I'm keeping an eye on the time. We do have a lot of questions that actually came in, and you guys are doing a fantastic job. I want to thank you so much for thinking about each candidate that's coming on and then customizing questions for that candidate. We won't have time to get to all of them with Mr. Lindsay today, but he obviously has committed to coming on the program at least once per week now. And so you'll have ample opportunity. We will get to your questions. Valeska has a question. She says, are you of the belief that a candidate's resume CV should be made available to the public on the basis that they're running for a public office position?
Yes, it's important to understand the range of experience, qualifications, and also, as you know, in many resumes, a person's interests are noted. So whether they're involved in volunteer organizations, charity, that stuff is also noted. And also it gives the person a chance to actually double check the person's qualifications if they wanted to, and if their relevant past employers will agree to confirm anything with them. So yes, I think the resume should be available, and that's also why I include a summary in my manifesto, which is online.
Yeah. All right. You know, Not says if Alric was in total power tomorrow, I don't know what total power means, but okay. Can he list the first 5 things he would change or implement with zero opposition? Let's see his real opinions and thoughts on change. So I guess total power, and let's be clear here again, one of the things that I try to do on this program is I try to manage your expectations. So there's no such thing as a singular MP going in and having total power. They may form part of the government. Alric is running as an independent. If he got in and he was able to form part of the government, that means that he would be a minister, a cabinet secretary, something like that. But that does not work in isolation. So nobody has total power, not even the premier of a country. The premier of a country is supposed to be working with cabinet members. Now, we have seen some premiers, allegedly, the former premier, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, when you talk to her cabinet members, they do say that she rules with an iron fist. So what she wants, she gets. And that's how she was able to get a $100 million school on the books now in Cayman Brac. But my question, I mean, the caller's question or listener's question, I should say, Alric, really, I think what they're trying to get to is what are your top priorities? If there were 5 things that you could do something about immediately upon being elected, what would they be?
So first of all, I think the top priorities would be those that are communicated by the people, rather than what politicians always do is they think that what they have as personal interests are the top interests. I do think that communication has to be had with the electorate to properly reflect that what you're doing is in their interest. So one of the things that people complain about is a lack of district councils. So that would be one of the things that I would promote being established. As we know, the Constitution provides that a law can be put in place for the establishment of district councils, which are supposed to be advisory bodies for the MPs. Now, I understand the law is in place, but changes were supposed to be made. Those changes were not made. So I would push for that law to be amended in the way that it should and have district councils in place. Another thing I noticed, over the years is seniors having not good access to healthcare. So there are a lot of people who only have, for example, standard health insurance contracts, which don't give you much coverage. And then you have retirees who sometimes don't have any coverage. So while I do agree that quality healthcare is available, sometimes there is bureaucracy and red tape. For example, seniors have told me that they had to be assessed by NAU or financial assistance unit to get insurance or to get other benefits. And then that assessment was only for a fixed period of time. Then it had to be reassessed. And my thing is, if you know the person, if you know the senior has these issues, I'm not too sure why the person has to be reassessed in the future. I understand there's a process, but if you put them through the bureaucracy of reassessment before you provide additional help, that means you leave them out and open for danger. So I think there needs to be increased. I would support an motion to make that process a little easier, better streamlined. So overall, improving the access to healthcare for seniors and also young people. And that healthcare will also include wellness and mental health care. The other item I think is important to the people is also related to seniors is can our seniors actually survive in Cayman based on the amount of pensions they're getting? So we know that there are quite a number of seniors who didn't have high incomes during their work lifetime, and so the pensions they receive are pretty low. And I know that I acknowledge that the government has done some things to raise the amount of pensions that seniors receive. However, I do think that our government sources, some of our government sources, could be reallocated so that seniors could get a top up on their pensions. I think the number of seniors, it's not like we have 1 million seniors and the top up would mean that the amount that we pay them as a top up would be outrageous. We have a limited number of seniors, so I think if we reallocated some government funding to top up their pensions so that they're receiving at least $2,000 a month, I would say between $2,000 and $3,000 would help them a little more than what we're currently seeing them getting. They're actually struggling. The other item I would look at is if we look around, all of these communities, their environment is clearly a huge issue. And when we see litter, we see abandoned derelict vehicles. One of the things I would promote in terms of litter and in the environment in general, but focusing on derelict vehicles, for example, we have 3 sets of laws that deal with derelict vehicles. We have the Litter Act, we have the Traffic Act, and I think it's the Roads Act. And what happens is that litter and derelict vehicles are treated in different ways under each act. So one of the things I would support is a motion to combine the reference to litter and abandoned vehicles in one law, rather than people having to look at different laws to figure out what powers each authority has. For example, DEH may take a different approach and put a sticker on the vehicle and give the person some time to move the vehicle. The police under the Traffic Act may have different powers. NRA under the Roads Act may have different powers in relation to derelict vehicles. So simply put, support a motion to change the law so that all references to the way we deal with litter and abandoned vehicles are dealt with under one set of legislation. Keeping on the topic of the environment, we had a report done 22 years ago on stormwater management, and that report recommended that a study be done to determine flood risk in certain areas, including the South Sound Basin, which obviously, is between Lincoln Person Highway and South Sound Road, and could impact properties on both sides of the road. So, simply put, that study was never done. I would push for that study to be immediately done, because especially when you look at the South Sound Basin, the more development that happens there, it means that there's the less ability of that basin to take in the rainwater. So the more development you have and the less ability you have to use the basin for protection, the more stormwater runoff you're going to have and the more likely flood risk you're going to have. So I would make sure that study would be immediately implemented.
I've lost count. Have you done 5 things, Alric? I think you might have done more than that. But so your top 5 priorities, can we just get a bullet list? And then I know, like I said, I know you got to get to court now. But
so I'm headed to court. But so that the list would be setting up district councils, increasing access to healthcare, increasing pensions for seniors, protecting our environment, amending relevant laws there, combating domestic violence and assaults on women. There's a lot of indecent assault and rape on women and children. And also, improving education and our approaches that we're currently taking on learning. Obviously, we know that we've taken the approach of building bigger buildings rather than making sure that we're ensuring that there are methods in there that are actually effective on learning. We have to meet students on their level and figure out what learning attributes, what learning challenges that they have. Personally, try to work on those. Support after school initiatives, support more counseling, mental health in schools and outside school. Support activities in and outside school that are affordable especially for low-income families. But yes, those are that's the bullet point.
All right. Anthony has a question, and then we're going to let you go after this. But save your questions, folks, for next time. Anthony says, can you ask Alric what is his redundancy? I don't know if that's the right word, is for court reporting and focus on his campaign. At some point it will be prospective voters he will need to or have to report on. I think he should take a break from that. So I think the question, I don't think redundancy is the right word, but I think the question he's asking is maybe what's your contingency plan? We obviously know that in addition to what you do, you wear multiple hats. So you've got your financial services job, but you also have your own publication as well, and you're still writing stories for that. At some point, what's the plan for you to just focus on the campaign? And Anthony says, focus on the voters, where you don't have to be going to court and doing those types of things. Do you have a plan in place? Are you going to put that on hold for the remaining campaign period, or what can we expect?
I mean, I do plan to ask someone to assist me with the job of the court reporting. But generally speaking, I do believe in full transparency. So if something happens in the court, I think it's important to share with members of the public. I think it's important to be transparent. I think it's important for the public to be aware of what's happening in their country, regardless of who it is. If I have a friend who's a politician and he gets in trouble and he lives in my district, should I not report on it? I think I have an obligation to the public to report on it.
But that's not the question. The question is, will you kind of put the reporting thing as a whole, not just what's happening in court, but will you put the reporting job or hat that you're wearing onto the side and just focus solely on the campaign? Or are you trying during the campaign period to continue to do that as well as campaign?
I will get someone to assist me with the court reporting.
With all reporting, not just court reporting. All right, caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning, Mr. Lindsay.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Lindsay, I read your manifesto, and you just talked about providing pension for retirees, right? In your manifesto, you propose allowing individuals unrestricted access to their pension funds during their lifetimes to invest as they see fit. However, considering that the current mandatory contribution rate of 10% is already deemed insufficient by many to ensure a comfortable retirement for many Caymanians, how do you reconcile the potential risk of early fund depletion with the goal of securing long-term financial stability for retirees?
Okay, thank you, caller.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a very good question. One of the challenges that people on pensions have is when the pension fund is being managed, there's obviously administration fees, there'd be management fees, and all those fees tend to reduce, whatever position that pension fund holder has. So I think one of the things, getting direct to his question, yes, there is a risk if you allow pension fund holders to deplete their entire holdings. There's a huge risk. And so I think having thought about this, I think it's a part of my manifesto that I will amend so that it reflects the dangers of the acceleration of depletion of the pension fund, because that means that the person would not have sufficient pensions for the remainder of their lifetime. So I thank the caller for that, because it helps me to incorporate the input of voters, and that's why the manifesto is actually a living document. At the end of each week, what I'll do is, when I hear the feedback from voters, that's obviously in their best interests, because I have to act in their best interests, I incorporate those on a weekly basis. So I thank you for the comment. It's a great observation, and I have amending that portion of the manifesto accordingly.
All right. Alric, thank you for coming on the program. Again, we appreciate you participating. We know that, any candidate who puts themselves here, it's not an easy thing to do. And we've got one final question, if we can squeeze this in. Ms. Alex says, how do you feel about lodge members running our country? Are you a lodge member yourself, just out of curiosity?
No.
Okay. Any feelings on lodge members being, part and parcel of not just the elected arm, but also the civil service? I mean, should that be something that people think about when they're voting, whether or not someone is a lodge member?
As I say, it depends on each voter. I can't tell voters how to vote. I can only say there are certain factors I would take into account. I mean, we don't know all the groups that each politician is a member of. For example, if you like the Lions Club, will you then support someone who's a politician who's in the Lions Club? Because Lions Club is a huge organization. So I really can't tell voters, how to vote. I just think they need to look at what factors they think are important to them and to the country, and what personal attributes those people have that would be helpful in creating a great governance framework, which includes accountability, transparency, and independence. So I can't pinpoint any specific group and say that voters shouldn't work with, those groups. I have to leave it up to voters and to make their own analysis.
All right. Thank you very much, Alric. We'll see you one day next week. So most of the candidates now, you will see them coming on, on a weekly basis. We will have TCCP later on this week. We will have Rolston Anglin. We may have Kenneth Bryan. He is a paying customer as well. Now he's part of a team. He paid before he's part of the team. So I'm not too sure how and if that will change his dynamics exactly, but he has told me up to yesterday that he will be committed to coming onto the program and talking with you, the voters of the Cayman Islands. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to Alric. We're not going to really go into too much extra overtime today, but we appreciate the continued efforts. We've got some special interview features coming up this week as well. So make sure you tune in early. We get started at 7:30. I think tomorrow we're going to do an interview feature Thursday, we've got guests coming on. Friday, we've got guests coming on. Honey child, hot tamales. It's that time of year now. So let's get it. Mr. Alric Lindsay, who is running for the district of Georgetown South. Thank you so much, Alric Lindsay, very much.
Thanks.
All right, appreciate it. All right, folks. Alric Thompson, when did he become Alric Lindsay? Okay, I guess we'll have to ask that question. I don't know anything about that, but we can certainly ask. So thank you very, very much. Who are throwing pension? We might not get our money at 65. Huh? All right. Keep your questions coming and we'll get to those. You guys have a beautiful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.